Give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Apologies. I have to quickly take care of something now.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Sorry, I'm back. Okay. I guess we can record. We can start recording now. I'm about to start. So please feel free to ask questions anyway that is not clear. Please, I want you to feel free. Do not hold back to call back on us, please. We do our best to go back and explain properly. So, are we good to go? Can you see my screen now? Emoji sign. Okay, okay. I want to believe you guys can all see my screen. So, all right. Good evening, everyone. Um, Madam Bisola, can you see my screen? I believe once you can see my
I
screen.
can see your screen. Yes, I
All
can
right.
see your screen. Data integrity and constraints.
Oh, great, great, great. Okay. Um, Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Once again, I'm Oluwashina Akwapi, Richard. So I'll be taking you guys on data integrity and constraints, data integrity and constraints. Then the data manipulation language, one of the types of classes of data of SQL. Then we'll be looking at the transformation part as well. Then I'll look at some few examples to how we can, go about it. So please just help me manage my slide. I was rushing it, so it's not looking so good, please. All right, let's go. So we'll be looking at, I'm able to summarize everything into this four. The content that is talking about the data integrity itself, the SQL constraint. So we should know what are the constraints, things we need to, look into, we'll be looking forward for. Once you are dealing with a database, even if it is a relational database or not, as long as it is database that adds people information. So lot of that area is very sensitive. So that part is quite very important. So there are a lot of tools, a lot of command that's available to make sure that we don't just abuse those data that we are having. So we'll be looking at the data manipulation language, the DML, then we'll be looking at the data transformation, data manipulation language transformation, how it can be transformed. First, let's look at SQL itself. I know more of like an introduction. So I know Falanshaw must have been doing, Mr. Falanshaw must have been doing some justice to that now yesterday, but of course, it will just be like we continue from there, but we just want you guys to know more about what SQL is actually all about. This is just going to be like a kind of a reminder. Now, when they say what is SQL, hmm, we call it SQL. Most from this part of the world, we normally call it SQL. Of course, we are not from the Western world, but the SQL has always been the right term. I guess it's quite easy to just call. So here I just said it is used for managing and manipulating databases. But yeah, so it actually means structured query language, of course, and it's a programming language, basically used to store, retrieve, and manage database. I want you to think like this. Let's say, how do you view your database? Database is just like a digital file cabinet. The normal physical cabinet you have in your office, your drawer, your desk, where you can put some of your stuff in there. So, and this is where information are stored. Information is stored in tables, just like a normal Excel spreadsheet. And that's why sometimes we call it relational database management system, RDBMS, because it has a rows and column, just like an Excel. There's a row, there's a column. So it's quite easy to store it. So, and SQL actually will help you to add, to change, to even find information in a number of, vast volume rather, of data. So there are some queries, that is the code you can write, or some simple command that can help us to search which information do we need. Because once you begin to hear something like data leak, you know why they're using leak? You will know that it's a lot of information that is there. So data lake is actually something else that has meaningful or clean data. Everything's just combined. So we said it consists of your various sub languages like the DDL, the DML, and the DCL. The DDL actually means data definition language. Of course, the DML, that is data manipulation language. We'll talk more about that. And the DCL, which is the data control language. So I'm going to just give us an heads up of what this thing actually is. So we're doing our best to ensure we do the right thing. So the DDL, let's start with that. It actually means, I know we are not focusing on it, but I just felt we need to know. It is actually like a structure. It defines the structure of a database. For example, if you want to create a table, so you use something like create, you know, this is what data definition language is all about. You are trying to design something up, something that is not there. So that's why they call it data definition language. What about the DCL? Now, the DCL means the data control language. It's kind of a control that user user must have an access or permission in the database. Now, somebody will be wondering, this one is quite different. Yes, it's database, it's people information. So it is this very category is very important. And I'm always certain I've noticed something that most data analyst, business analyst, even data scientist or database administrator, they normally ignore this very part, the DCL, the data control language. And this part is even much more important for people who are into data engineering. We understand what I mean about the DCL, because you have to be able to control people that have access to your database, no matter how, if you're a SQL expert and you cannot manage your database from others to have access to it, or to control number of people who should have access to it. Because once you are working as a database administrator, even a data analyst, yes, they can give you access, and they can even publish some of your database. So it means to create you have to give some permissions, you have to be able to create some boundaries, because data is very important. Data is very, very, very important in this life. So we'll be looking at the key topics we have here. Of course, the data integrity and the constraint, and the data manipulation language and its transformation. So let's go. Now, data integrity and in SQL now. So we need to know what is actually data integrity itself. We need to know the definition. Yeah, it says data integrity ensures accuracy, consistency, reliability of data throughout the life cycle. Accuracy, consistency, and reliability of data throughout its life cycle. So in other words, I would say data integrity, it ensures that data in the database are accurate, they are consistent, they are reliable, from the moment it enters, so that you will not say that there's a match migration I did here, and I noticed some of this data are not there. No. So this means that we must ensure that the integrity is there till the time we will not be using the data, which is the life cycle. So there is a reason why you are putting a data in your database, and from that moment there is a life cycle to it. If they will come, it might not be used, it might not be useful again, then we can archive it or take it out. So, and let me give another example so that we can begin to see the picture. It's just like you keeping a grocery inventory where all your items have corrected prices rather, and something like the quantity, the unique, maybe the barcode, something that can actually prevent error. For example, you will go to super malls and you'll be seeing price of things, and you'll see those barcode scanner that the moment you pick it to the cashier and they just scan it, that is actually the price. So they normally take this very serious, because the moment there's a different barcode, it means depth, because it might not actually present the price. It can reduce, it can means maybe another price. So what database does, data integrity does, is to ensure all the data in the database are accurate, are consistent, and reliable. Now, I want to give you a picture. When you start working as a data analyst or a business analyst now, that and you'll be asked to work on data warehouses, or maybe from even an RDBMS, you will not be given access to the direct database. So the administrators are the ones that will give you, maybe they can even create a view, so as not for you to probably truncate it, and because any little mistake, maybe you just input a command or try to change some command and it affected your body, the whole complaint stuff gone. So they will not make that mistake in giving you access. So, and you shouldn't be angry once they do that. So it is not, that is a policy. So it's very important. And even those that are even in charge, there is a backup for your database. So it's very important, especially in the banks. You don't joke with data. Now, here we have types of data integrity. The first one is entity integrity. It says ensure each rows is uniquely identified. Yes, every row that is record in a table must have a unique identifier. What do I mean about that? We must have been seeing something like primary key. Yes, primary key. Hello, am I still audible? I need confirmation. It's appeared to quiet.
You are still audible. I can hear you.
All right. Oh, great. Okay, so you must have been hearing primary key, maybe even your Excel, probably when you are doing your power pivot, you are trying to model two tables together, trying to bring them together. And you must have seen primary key and foreign key kind of. Now, what it does is that it gives you, maybe it is a customer profile or maybe an information. It gives you a new identity that is unique. Now, I always give this example, especially when we talk around the essence of having primary key, or to declare a primary key while you are creating your table. For example, if you are going only by identify people by names, let's use bank. And you enter bank and somebody says, okay, how can we identify you that you are this? And somebody say, my name is Ajaisha. I'm just giving an example. Now, they can search through their database and see that there are even over 500 Ajaisha that fits my description. So they will say they can't find me. Now, what that primary key does is for able to create a unique identifier that you are the only one that will have that tag. So it will just be like the only person who ever have that code That is the unique identifier. That is the ID. So this is what the entity integrity is all about. So anytime you are creating a table, that table, if it is a customer profile, probably maybe these customer service people, as they are profiling you, there's going to be a customer ID, and that customer ID is unique. They will give you. And also, maybe it is a simple table, a transactional table, maybe where they buy stuff. Now, there is an ID that track that transaction. It must be unique. So those unique ones are the ones we tag, we declare primary key. I believe that part is very clear. So this actually prevents duplicate or missing information. This is what it does. So what about the referential integrity? The second one, it says to maintain consistency in relationship between tables. Yes. In other words, it ensures that, okay, the relationship between two tables or more remains valid. Now, let me give an example. Now, let's say there is another table, and let's say if the other table refer to customer table also, then an order must be linked to an existing customer. So it means that if you are trying to link up a table, two tables together now, what it does basically is that if I want to identify a customer, instead of me to in the other table, maybe okay, let me use bank. Bank is the most relatable example I can give that probably we all have an experience with. Now, let's say you walk into a banking hall and somebody, maybe you want to help your friend in the sales, like, guy, let me open an account now. Okay, now working. The first place they will direct you to is the customer service section. Now, once they direct you to the customer service section, and these people will give you one big form, and probably you must fill it in capital letters so that they can see it clearly. Now, that form is all about you. They want to know KYC, know your customer. So, as a result of that, they will be asking information about you, deep information. They can be asking you about your name of your grandma, your best friend, where you are staying, will be, passport, um, all manner of names. I mean, all manner of information about you. So at the end of the day, they will be able to create an account for you and give you an ID. Now, that ID is for you alone. That is the unique identifier. That is the primary key. So after you have done all that, you can now begin to do transactions in the bank. I mean, do some transaction with your account. You can even walk into the same banking hall to do some physical withdrawal. You just go in there. So anytime you perform any transaction, be it ATM, be it phone, maybe mobile app, or be it walking into the bank, there is a record, there is a transaction table that captures what you have done. So instead of them to write your full name, your grandma's name, your grandma address on that table, all they just need to do is to write that code, that ID. Oh, this person is here. We only know this person as something, 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 F4 ID. That is your ID, what they know you for. So this is what the referential integrity is all about. And it is not only for humans too, but also for products. If it is a very big uh, production company, there is a product ID or batch number or anything that captures the product. The same product can be produced in another time. You might not know, but the ID will tell us when they produce this product, the time they dispatch it, who that are on the duty when this product are being produced. So all these IDs are unique. So the referential integrity ensure that that relationship is there between those tables. In in Power BI, they will call the updated one, the transactional one as fact, while the customer ID, the product ID table, I mean the customer table, the profile, and the product table are core dimensions and all. So It's very important we understand this. I'm just trying to take my time. So what about the domain integrity? What does it do? It's said to restrict values in the column to valid range. Yes. So what it does is actually to ensure that data in a column follow a specific rule. Like if let's say like a valid age range, you can set up if you are creating a table, you must be able to specify the length. Maybe if it is a text, the maximum length this thing should go, or the minimum. So, and also you can set boundary. For example, people's age, you can say um, between 18, I'm still using the bank now, between 18 years to like maybe 150 years. I'm just saying. So anything below 18, as you're inputting it, it won't go. They will not be able to register because the person, the customer in quotes now, has not reached that age, that required age for you to be able to create an account. I'm just saying. Now, let's look at the last one. It says user define integrity. Now, what does it do? It says customize rules. Custom rule applied to maintain business. You can customize your own rule. There is a general rule, and you can also customize it. So maybe it is for business purposes. You can ask for other information. You can say, okay, this one can go. So this one define the user define. That is you. Maybe you have a business. What's your RDB? What's your database supposed to accept? You can define it. So that's what this type of data integrity is all about. So let's move on. Now let's look at the SQL constraint. At least this will help us to understand. Now, before we move on to this, what I want us to know about data integrity, a recap. The idea about it is to prevent duplicates. It prevents incorrect or incomplete data, and also ensure relationship between tables remain intact, remain valid. And this actually helps business rules. Yes, we can set up or customize anyone and do our own stuff that is not so generic. This is an act that prevents fraud. So that is why data integrity is very important. That aspect of database, don't joke with it. So let's look at the SQL constraint. But before we go on, we need to look at the definition, putting it at the left top, left corner, and you can see. So here it says is the rule that enforced on data to ensure accuracy and reliability. Somebody will say, it looks like the one we just talked about, data rule, but something must be there. It's just this one furtherly explain what with the actions we have to take. I've explained some of this, but we still have to go on. So constraints are rules applied to data in a database to ensure accuracy and reliability. Yes. And just see it anytime you see something like that, just see it as a guideline that makes sure that the information you put or you store in your database is correct and meaningful, that anybody can access it and see, oh, anybody that is being granted permission can understand what is actually there. So that is the aim. So we have six types of constraint. Excuse me. We have the primary key. I've explained it the other time that it uniquely identify this row is like something that ensure that that row is unique. And these are usually an ID, something we can use to tell, oh, this is this very row, this is the name, or this is the tag that we are giving it so that we can use it to trace information in case we are looking for it. So what about the foreign key? Yeah, it says to maintain a referential integrity between, yes, especially if it an attribute like is a primary key, then it can be connected to other tables and in form of foreign key, the other one. So it's just like you're trying to establish a connections between two tables to maintain consistency. So that is what the foreign key is all about. So I've used the example the other time that Instead of writing your name, especially when you are doing the bank transactions or they want to capture who is the person that comes, who among our customers have walked into, they will just need to put, they will just put your ID, and that is all. So that is what the foreign key does. So what about not null? Now, to ensure columns cannot be null, we ensure that columns cannot be empty. That's what it means. We must make sure every column in the database are not empty. So a blank database, maybe let's say you have an account name, and you cannot left it blank if you are meant to put an information there. So sometimes we can declare it null, that okay, this very column can accept an empty information. It's possible, but in the normal standard, not null is making sure that informations are not, or data are not left blank. Anytime people don't know that data cleaning is also done on SQL. So this is why something like null comes in. You can see missing values. Yeah, it's because null encourage it before we transform it and save it as view. So, but I will not go into that. So what about default? Talking about default, it says to assign a default value when no input is yes, especially when there is no input at all. Something should be there, like the one that we are used to in Excel. Maybe some people will just put n/a. Some can put it manually, and computer can help us too. But there is a defaulted, like a set of predefined value that have to be there if no input is given. So sometimes if you are not putting any input and probably you don't have the information yet, you can just declare default. And don't worry, your data will still be safe. So it's just to make sure that your data is consistent, it's not truncated. So what about the unique? Now, speaking of unique, it's said to ensure all value in the column are distinct. Yes, you have mentioned it, unique. If you want to, sometimes we can click on drop down, maybe in Excel, and you will see multiple information of the same information. Maybe you just click on places and you saw 5 locations and click on Lagos. And Lagos appear like 250 times, maybe on your Excel table. But if it is a unique, it has to be one. If it is two, it's no more unique. That is what the primary key ID does. Then the last one here is the check. It said it defines specific condition. Yes. The idea of this is to restrict value based on conditions. So you can use check to ensure that, okay, something is between 1 and 12. Something is between this and this. And as a matter of fact, anything that goes beyond that, it will give error. It will commit. It will not save. It will not execute. So database are very sensitive. So you don't just assume that, oh, maybe it's just database. We can always, no, it's different. This is where informations are kept. I'm saying information. Data are kept. So all these things are important constraints to make sure that all these data are rightly stored and can, in the course of their life cycle in the database. So let's go on. Let's move on. Now, we'll be looking at just some few examples, just to make sure that we know what we are talking about. We can see a create table. If you are creating a table, maybe you just want to create a table. So you can use the data definition language, a create table, to do that. Now, employee ID, you can see, definitely this is talking about employee, and the table name is employee. So employee ID will be unique, and we'll set it or declare it as a primary key. It has to be one. So if somebody is having an ID of 574 /08, that is the person's ID. Nobody will be bearing it again. Even if the person left, they will have to develop another ID for another person for another time. So you can see name Vasha 100. Now, what this actually means, I know must have done some introductory on that. It's varying character, or people call it variable character. So any character can comes in text, anything, strings, and the maximum length should be 100. It shouldn't be more than 100. Information will be put in on this column. And you can see is you are declaring it that this column cannot be empty. So it means that your name cannot be empty. It's a must. Some people will be filling forms, maybe Google Forms, and you'll see some star, maybe some applications, they will say this part is compulsory. They'll put red star. So it's the same thing. So if you're not putting anything, I'm afraid it might not go. So you can see that this one also age as integral. So we can put check in the front to say that the age must be greater or equals to 18. So if it is not greater than 18, if it is less than 18 rather, it will not stop. But I just understand that most of the time, we always limit, how should I put it now? We normally limit our stuff, especially when we are creating constraint to only primary key, and if it is not. All these things are important. The check, the references, you understand, must be there, because that is how to tell that, oh, truly your database can be secure. You can manage your a large data. So if you are doing any projects that requires a condition like, okay, this, you must do your best to put all these constraints, and it's very important. You cannot say, oh, you are targeting a banking job and you are saying, okay, you are trying to create a customer table, and you don't make a check, you don't declare your check that state a condition, because it looks like, it shouldn't be that hard. But by the time you start having huge volume, you will not know when somebody will write 5 years old to open an account. So the 18 years is very important. This check is very important. Then the departmental ID, of course, an integer, but this is just an int. It means maybe if it is a number or so. But this is the foreign key. Like I've said the other time, that is a reference, especially when you are referencing another table, you are connecting them together. That is the primary, what's the name? The departmental ID. And you can see the references here. This will confirm, this will check if the same ID is present in another table as a foreign key. Like I've said, let me use this example once again. In the bank here, I like using bank, maybe, or probably because we know that something we are much familiar with. Now, in the banking, or once you register, like maybe once you open an account from the customer service, your name will always be there once. All your information will just be on the column, just once. You can't go back again and say, I want to enter again. No. But there is another table that can capture as many times as possible. Maybe that is a transaction table. You can go through it, draw, it will automatically record. Oh, customer ID, that is you. I've come today. Oh, 3 hours later, you came back again to do some transaction. To record it again. And like that, it will keep going. Yeah, that table, that customer ID in that transaction table is serving as a foreign key to the primary key of your profile, your customer profile, because that one will appear only once. But the other one, that is the transaction as many times as possible. So I'm just taking my time to ensure you understand all these constraints. It's very important. So let's go. So let's look at data manipulation language. We are moving fast, and it's good. Now, let's look at the definition. It has some smart definition and some key. So I just try to make it simple. I said data manipulation language is used for inserting, updating, deleting, and retrieving data. In other words, I would say it's more of like a set of commands, in SQL. This allows user to insert, to update, to delete and retrieve data from their databases. Yeah. So it's just like you are trying to interact with an information, or maybe don't let me say repository now. You are trying to interact with some of your information online. You now say, okay, I want to rearrange it. No, I want to find this. No, I want to delete this one. It's taking space. This is how it is done. Also, you're just like adding, changing, removing. Even your phone contact self. Somebody will say you want to delete their hexes. Already, I'm having 5 hexes on my phone. I don't know why I'm torturing myself. So they'll just carry their phone, delete them, or probably maybe they have a friend that is now looking like her. This relationship will work with. They will change the name. Person that is bearing maybe Adedayo, I'm just saying example. You now put Adelove, just kid. So you just upgrade the name. So it's just the same thing. So you make some update on it. So this is what the data manipulation language is all about. So we have some key. There are more. There are many, yes, but we just have to limit it to this four for the sake of the class. We'll be seeing this often, but it's fun. So insert is just to add information. The moment you are using an insert command, particularly on SQL Server version, you're adding information, insert, or even a general SQL and DMS. So it's for adding information. That's just it. So what about updates? Those things, the good thing is SQL are very close to English. Somebody will say, how many languages do you understand? You understand English, Yoruba, and SQL. Yes, SQL is also a language. Yes. Some might even go deeper and say, I understand data manipulation language, at least. I'm just kidding. So update is just for you to edit an existing data, to modify an existing data. What about delete? Remove record, remove the data. And select means retrieve, show me. Sometimes you can just use your English mind and that's why SQL is easy to write some query and it makes a lot of sense, trust me. So let's go. So we have an example here. You can see. Now we have insert, update, and delete command. Now this is a table. Command, what was the name? Let me use laser pointer so that you can see pointer. Okay. Now, this very point, this is a table name, employee. And let's say it has these tables. It has this column. These are the column header. Column employee ID, name, age, department ID. Then what you are adding there, value. Under employee ID, it's 101. Under name, it's John Doe. Under age, it's 30. You can see the John Doe is in quotes because it's a text. But once it is number, we are free to go. Then department ID, maybe 1. So it means you are adding this new information to the system. But in our DBMS databases like maybe Postgres or even SQL Server, if it is everything you want to update, sometimes you don't even need to mention or to write all the columns. You just put employee and list all of them. Every one of them will fit in. It's just to make the work easier. So what about update command? If you are trying to modify an existing data, maybe you are saying 22. And it's not 22 again, no, it's now 95. So you will say update the same data. Now you will now write set age. We know that age is already there. Anyway, there is 35. No, set age. This age, the new age will be 35. And this part is very important too. if you don't put where the condition, that is which area do you want to update, and you just put 35 and forget to put where, every age in that database will turn to 35. This is very important. So you can just put where employee ID is equals to 101. You can see that this employee ID is unique. It can only be one. So it means that we are targeting a specific ID for us to be able to edit this. And change this will now change to 35, from 30 to 35. So what about delete? Also, delete is very important too. You don't just write delete from employee, everything we wipe off, but rather ensure you specify which ID you want to, which under which row you are looking for, or you want to delete. So this is what this command does. So let's go. Now, ML transformation, that is data manipulation language transformation. So we need to know how we can modify existing data, but let's look at the definition itself. Now, what is DML transformation? It says the process of modify data while maintaining integrity and consistency. It will look like straightforward now. No. Sometimes in the course of modifying data, maybe there is a constraint that say, okay, the age on this column must not be like the one we use, must not be less than 18. And they are trying to modify it, and the person is trying to put 15 as age. Now, this thing will not go. There's some command that will make sure that it doesn't go, it doesn't modify. So this is what the DML transformation is all about. It's just a way to modify data in a database while ensuring it remain accurate, consistent, and reliable. So, but let's look at some of the technique we'll be looking at. We're using transaction command, something like commit or rollback for saved update. Also, something like using trigger for automated action. Sometimes maybe you are doing some repetitive action and it will require you to alight. So you can set some triggers to help you to automate it. And also using view, you can create view. View is just like a table. You can using views to present transform data. Yes. Maybe after you have transformed it, sometimes it's always better to save it as views or materialized view. You understand what I mean? Views are just tables. I don't know why they call it views. Materialized view is also a table, but the difference is view can be viewed by other software that is connected, maybe like visualization, but materialized view is not. But let's go, let's see what we have here. Okay, we want to look at an example and it makes sense. So let's say this is a very common one in a financial institution, especially when you are trying to set the rules. Now, let's say you want to edit some information and you now say, okay, update employee. Now say set, just like the other one, the update. If the age is 40, where the customer ID, the employee ID is 102. Now, if you will not stay condition, because based on the constraint check you are giving here, like the constraint check that we are using the other time is greater than equals to 18. So that is the check. But let's say if it is greater, like this one now, I think it falls within this thing. So if this is equals to error, it will roll back. It will not execute it. That's what the rollback is. But if it is within the law, that means you are committing. That is no issues. And I'm going to give an example based on this. Now, let's say you are trying to transfer $100, maybe from your friend's account. Maybe from, your friend is trying to transfer $100 or 100 naira, or let's say 100,000 naira to your account. Now we can start a transaction and say, okay, you want to do the normal set or age or whatever. And as you are putting it, if anything outside that 100,000, maybe it's more than that or less than that, it will roll back. It will tell you that what you typed, and I don't know if I'm making sense, what you are trying to do based on what you are trying to transfer. I'm just trying to use a very simple example. It's not gone. I don't know if there's a device like that that can help us to confirm transactions, like to tell you that, okay, the transact, or okay, let me use this common one, that they will say, okay, you cannot transfer more than maybe 10 million. I'm just giving, it's a very common one. To some, they will say 1 million. To some, they will say 500,000. So if you are going beyond that, there is a constraint that will prevent you from doing more, from transferring more. So if it goes beyond that duration, then it will roll back to an information that we share. But if not, it will commit. That's what all this thing is just all about. I know this part is not something we are more frequent with, but it's very important. It's especially when you're looking at places whereby they address, they dealt with their transactions or dealt with money, something or anything finances. So it's very important you understand it. So let's go. So sorry, I think I skipped something. Okay, I think, okay. In another word, I was mentioning trigger the other time, that we are using trigger to automate action. Yes. So especially if we are meant to be doing the same task, it's a repetitive task. So we use trigger for automated actions. I didn't put it here, but I just want it to be as simple as it can. So sometimes we can create trigger and define it, and ensure that, okay, this thing follows the same pattern that we have been used. Then you can use begin. So, but of course, I'm just trying to tell us that we can always do some small research. I don't want to go deep into the data control language kind of thing. So, but let's just stick with this. But the most important part is that we understand how to set conditions, how to set some constraint in our database, and of course, it means we can able to control who have access to it. We can able to control who can manipulate it, and so on, to keep our database safe. So that's the idea. So in conclusion, we set SQL constraint. They are the EFCC, they are the police. They ensure that, oh, you are going within the rule of the database. You declare something as number, you're not expected to write names, or write names, or write something outside that uh, jurisdiction. Now, what about the data manipulation language? Yes, of course. When you are trying to manipulate data, you use DML to efficiently enable you to perform many things, to transform the table, to edit it, to modify it, to delete it, as a matter of fact, if you can. Now, the data integrity also, yes, it has to be the same, because we cannot say, oh, this is a database. By the time you keep an information in the same format and you are bringing it up, the thing has scattered. No, the data integrity ensure that part is consistent, is reliable, and of course, is accurate. Then the last one here, the data manipulation language transformation, ensure data consistency and a safe modification. Talking about the commit and the rollback and some other ones, that making sure that we are not having any form of influence on the data we have on our database. So I think that will be all on my hand. So thank you very much, everyone. So in a nutshell, we should understand the answers. If you are doing a project, you can read more, understand, okay, what are the areas I can, this aspect applies in the industry. So if they are looking for a database administrator, or maybe a data engineer, or data science, or data analyst, maybe in a financial institution, of course, you should know how you can um, how you can manage your database now. That's summary I can give. All right. So I think that will be all from my hand. So I don't know if we have any question. I think now is the time. I don't know if we have any question.
If you have any question, kindly raise your
Please feel
hand.
free.
Yeah, just raise your hand and I'm going to unmute you so that I can ask you a question. Or you can drop it in the chat box so that the facilitator can read it and answer for you.
Please, guys, let's feel free. Let's feel free. I'm even going through the chat now. Okay, I've not seen any question. Okay,
Any question?
I think somebody is turn on.
Any ends? Okay. Okay. Emmanuel, you have the mic. You can ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me? Good day, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I want to thank you for this well explained class. It gives us a lot of insights as to what we're about to do. Question I want to ask in relation to primary key and foreign key. Sometimes I misplace what their roles are, but from what you have explained, I want you to reemphasize foreign keys. Is it what we can use to connect two tables holding two different tables holding, say, maybe same record in a database or different records in a database? That foreign key, I didn't really get that part very well. I don't know if you heard.
Okay. Let me answer that. Now, primary key in a table, they are unique. They are one. Like you cannot, meaning that once you declare a particular column as your primary key, it means if you are writing, if you input 3 for the first time, no problem. But if you are trying to enter the same 3 again, now there will be problem. It will say this part is a primary key. But on the other table that is connected to it, we can write that 3 10,000 times. No issues. That is the foreign key. But what is connecting them is because it's the same column kind of. The primary key as just is the how should I put it now? Like the example I was using, I'm trying to make it very easy. Like, okay, you can only register. Okay, let me use let me still use bank. You can only register a bank once. You know, after you have supplied your BVN, your everything, something like that, you can only register it once. But you can also, because once you do that, you don't have to be coming back to customer service. I want to register again, but you're a staff. I mean, you're a customer now. I don't know if you get the point, but it is only once. Any other person, they will give an ID. But that is where your primary key is. But on your foreign key will be on the transaction table. It means you can appear multiple times. They don't need to mention your name all through. You can just come in, oh, something ID has come again. Oh. Something ID has come after 5 hours again. I've come yesterday. I've been coming. So same thing also. So that is the foreign key. But everything that appears on the column of the table that has the foreign key are originally uniquely in that primary key, in that table. I don't know if I've answered your question, sir.
Very beautifully well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. All right. So any question, please, let's feel free. Let's feel free. We are trying to, to make sure that we create time for people to ask questions. We normally see it, the feedback on people on struggling on, people don't even like coding. Saying SQL, they'll say, can we just stick to, can we just stick to our Excel and be doing our beautiful dashboard and so on.
Mr.
Okay,
Shina, kindly check the chat box. Some people ask a question on the chat box, so you can go through it.
okay,
Yes.
okay. Somebody said, please, what are composite keys? Hmm. Composite key is also related to what we are talking about in database. Yes, it's just like you are modeling the two tables together now. You are trying to combine it through columns, or you are trying to bring them together. So those composite keys are also the primary key and the foreign key and other key that we are not so used to. So it's actually a way of combining two or more columns within, within a table, so that we can have access to those tables, just like what we have been saying. And of course, this is actually made up of primary key, yes, you know, with unique, that has this unique. So it's just very important we know, especially we have to know that they are not the column can have some, there are some multiple columns that have this information. Also, we need to also know that the uniqueness part of it before we can combine them, the integrity, all we have been talking about is still the same thing as we modeling tables together. Okay, I don't know if I've answered your question. Winning. Okay. All right. Somebody is raising up his hand, if I'm correct.
So
Mr.
you have the
Tijani.
mic, Tijani.
Okay.
Hello. Okay.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon,
sir.
sir. Good afternoon, ma. My question
Yes.
is for the missus, ma. Sir, sorry, not for you, sir. On the chat box, if I try to enter, I was told I'm no longer a participant, so I can't even type anything inside. Do you get me,
Oh,
sir?
okay.
Okay. Like you are trying to
Yes, it's happening since last
ask,
week, so I thought probably it's from my end, so I just waited till now, and it's still the same.
okay, do you okay, you sign in now for you to be able to um
Yes, I'm in.
you are
I'm
trying to
inside the class.
access. Okay, you
The
once you
chat
click the
box.
chat
Yes, once I
and
enter the
you
chat now, and I tried it's that typing message will just show you are no longer a participant. Though I can see other people's chats, like the one you just read out, I can see everything, but I can't type anything inside it.
that's a bit strange kind of. But I will not say maybe it's the network or the devices you are using. Are you accessing this through your phone or your
Phone,
PC?
my
Phone.
phone.
Okay. Oh, it might actually be phone, or probably there is some level of, I will not say maybe there's some level of security or something, but if you can access it through another device, let's see if it will repeat the same thing. I don't know.
Okay, all right, sir. I'll try it.
Oh, sorry for the inconvenience. So sorry. So, okay. I guess we can. All right. Okay. Okay. Somebody was Zainab. Yes. It said, can you um explain? Sorry. Sorry. Some of these chats are coming in quickly, so I'm just trying to. So I'm just trying to. Okay. So it says, can you please go over the if? Okay. At error. Okay, what that part is saying is talking is giving you is just like an example of an if statement. Let me use that word now. But this time around, it's not going to, it's just focusing on execution. It's not normally a query. So it's like you are trying to control the execution of the query. So for example, if you set a constraint and it falls within, so you need to indicate if it should roll back, it should go back again, because it will give an information. You can even say, okay, give a particular information if this data you are trying to build is not fitting in. It's just like data validation now, that it's not within the rules, within the constraint. But if not, commit. So you can use the commit to also continue an action, maybe a pending action. Before this thing is before you enter this, if it's not meeting this, don't execute, don't stop, don't do this. But once it's meet up, then you can go ahead and add it to your database or even do some calculations. So I just use that as an example. It's usually when you are trying to control activity on your stuff. So people in the banking world will understand, the administrator, supporting staff, and the like. So they will know what I'm talking about. So it's not a regular query that we normally write as a data analyst, but it's just a condition like an if and else. But this time around, it will not display commit, it will not display rollback. It's focusing on the execution. I don't know if I get the point, yeah. Because in the case of, I think we'll get to that point when we'll be talking about if statement. But in the case of if statement, there is another word called case and then. Case and then is what we use in the case of that to enable us to manipulate data. So okay, thank you, Ms. Zainab. Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. So any other question? Any other question? Let's feel free. Let's feel free. It's fun. Trust me, SQL is fun and it's very powerful. And let me tell you this. Once you understand SQL, you can write those queries, you know how to quickly reach out and do your deliverables. You can put it on your CV, Google BigQuery, bam, all these data warehouses. Amazon Redshift, you are good to go. Microsoft Azure, you're on point. Snowflakes, all of them like that. Even some most ERP systems now, you will need the knowledge for you to be able to operate them deeper of SQL. Okay, please, what is the difference between primary key and unique? SQL constraint and okay, primary key and unique. Let me try to understand it. I guess the two have some similarity. Yes, primary key focus. Now, let me think like this. Now, I think I've explained primary key is kind of the same. In a column, in an ID rather, in a column, mostly ID and identity, they are unique identifier. So the moment you declare a column ID, a column primary key rather, then it means that you can't repeat the same thing you have inputted. You can't. And the unique constraint, especially when you are trying to set a constraint. Now, primary key is like you are trying to say, okay, there's a table, primary key, then in case it connected to another table, probably with foreign key, they can easily flow together. But unique is just a simple condition like, okay, you ensure that all the value in the columns are different. They are almost similar. They are similar. They are very similar. Just that one is applied when one is used. The primary key is used for the purpose of connecting to other table. And unique is used maybe for just the sake of that table. Maybe you just want it to be like this. You want it to be unique and so on. So I don't know if I've answered your question. They are doing the same thing, yes. But the primary key focuses on connecting to other table especially when it is foreign key, the table that has foreign key that has the same foreign information, but is not unique at the other end. I don't know if I've answered your question, Mr. Andrews. Okay, I don't know, but for the sake of time, I think somebody was. Okay, you're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. So, okay, I've said, God, I've said it. I said it's just a way. The if at error, that is just talking about if based on the constraint you have used, in case there is any error, probably there's a rule. Somebody has inputted number that fail to meet that constraint. So it will roll back. You can decide to say, okay, it should take it to one side. That is the rollback command. Then in case it fulfills that constraint rules, then it will commit it. And you are good to go. It's not so, we don't normally use it. It's a way to control execution, SQL execution kind of. So it's not usually something we have to know like that. So especially, but we just need to understand how this thing works. Get okay. So any other question before we call it? I think I have just 30 minutes. I don't have to spend the 2 hours, so that we can use the other time to rest. The videos is there so that we can also study. And in case you want to, by now we should be familiar with W3 schools. Please, it's an amazing software. Okay, Miss Nafisat, can you? Okay, okay, let's give her a mic. Probably that should be the last question, so we can just relax, So you have the floor, Miss Nafisat. Okay, Mr. Tijani is still okay. Go on, Miss Nafisat.
Okay, sorry. I'm on the road, so I just want to I already typed it on the chat box, but I think they are not in it. My question is SQL mainly for encrypting database?
Yes, is the programming language for databases. Yes, is the major program. Is not just major. Is the program language for data anything database, and database has to do with every section. Whether you are an agriculture, you need database, and of course we know the importance of data, especially when it comes to personal information that should not be exposed to third party. So it's very important. SQL is very important. That's why that skill is very, very needed. If you can manipulate it, my sister, you are good to go.
All right, thank you so
Okay,
much.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, Mr. Tijani. Yeah, you raise up your hand. So I think that should be our last question.
Good afternoon once again, sir.
Yes, sir.
My question is not it's not like I did not understand what you explained today, but because I was not in class yesterday, I cannot say I'm going with you. So all these things you explained, I like if I watch the recording from yesterday, I'll be able to go through it because we are not doing anything like a practical. We just explain. So I'm not like, okay, probably everything has been done yesterday. So I just need to just implement the ones you gave today. So it's now work together. That's my question, sir.
Okay. See, the practical section too, we'll be doing it. Yes, we'll be doing it. But it's still very
Okay.
important for us to understand it. There's a saying that if purpose is not defined, the abuse. You understand? So by the time we have registered this in our mind, because the idea around coding or writing queries is not actually about, okay, I know how to type to retrieve data, but you should be able to know the purpose, why it is even so. And that is why we have a presentation like this first. So maybe from our subsequent classes, then we can have I might not even be using can be a SQL platter, but of course, it is something that I want you two guys to uh, get familiar with, because that will make your work easy by the time you are doing it on a real life. So we are going practical.
right.
Don't worry, not an issue.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. All right, thank you very much, everyone. It's 15:15 or 15:16. So the most important thing is let's try. Let's try our best now to study. It is one thing to listen now, but it's also another thing to try to do your best to practice what you have done. Because one thing I know is, as you are practicing it, something is just, and it's not like you have to be cramming it. So don't ever cram any form of coding. There's something called cheat sheet. Research of SQL cheat sheet. You can even leverage on all this AI analytical tool. The most important thing is how you can use it, manipulate it to address the concern. That's the goal. That's the code. So the most important thing is you can do a lot of things. Trust me, it's not even an issue right now. We're in a world where people are actively campaigning for a low coding tech jobs, and it's everywhere. So let's let's try to do that. Learning has been made easy these days, so let's give our shot. So I think, oh, Mr. Andrew, okay, this is the last. Okay, you have the floor, Mr. Andrew. Okay, let's give Mr. Andrew Mike. I think he has asked question the other time, but I'm not sure.
Giving him the mic permission. Mr. Andrew, you can
Okay,
speak now.
Mr. Andrews, you can speak. Your hands is up. Your hand is up.
Andrew.
Okay, I think I have a feeling probably it's a network or something.
Yes.
But our discussion continues regardless. It's still continue on the platform. So even though I'm not always there, but let's keep asking questions. So one way or the other, we'll get our answers across. Learning continues. The class still continues. So feel free to always ask questions, even not until maybe even after the class on our platform. Trust me, somebody will be there to answer. So thank you everybody once again. So good to meet her to meet us once again. So I think by next week we should meet again. So continue from where we stop. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Madam
Thank you, Mr.
Sola, anything?
Yes, thank you. No, we should just be preparing for the next class, which is upcoming Saturday. So thanks so much for today's class. It was insightful, and we thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. You're welcome. Thank you very much, guys. You guys are amazing. So thank you. Have a wonderful new week and new month. Yeah. Thank you.